The dusty marketplace of Rajgarh buzzed with its usual morning chaos when Vikram Singh first saw them. Three young women stood huddled together near the grain merchant's stall, their eyes downcast and hands trembling. The eldest couldn't have been more than 22, while the youngest appeared barely 16. Their simple cotton saris were clean but worn, and despite their obvious fear, there was a dignity in their bearing that caught Vikram's attention. Vikram had come to the market to purchase supplies for his textile business. As one of the most respected merchants in the region, he was known for his fair dealings and generous heart. His three sons, Arjun, Karan, and Rohit, had grown into fine young men under his guidance, each possessing different strengths but sharing their father's values of honor and compassion. As Vikram negotiated for cotton bales, raised voices from across the marketplace drew his attention. A heavy-set man in a soiled dhoti was gesturing angrily at the three sisters, his voice carrying over the market din. "The price is final," the man was saying to a group of men who had gathered around. "They are young, healthy, and can work hard. The eldest knows cooking and household management. The middle one is skilled in embroidery. The youngest is quick to learn." Vikram's blood ran cold as he realized what was happening. These were not servants being hired. These girls were being sold. The man speaking was clearly their father, and the interested parties were examining the sisters like livestock at a cattle market. Unable to remain a passive observer, Vikram approached the group. The father, whose name he learned was Mohan, explained his situation with a mixture of defiance and shame. A series of failed crops, mounting debts to local moneylenders, and his wife's recent death had left him desperate. Selling his daughters was the only way he could see to clear his debts and save his small piece of land. "They are good girls," Mohan insisted, his voice cracking slightly. "They will serve their masters well. The eldest, Priya, has managed my household since her mother died. Kavya has gentle hands perfect for delicate work, and little Mira learns everything quickly." The potential buyers were discussing terms, their conversations focusing on the girls' working capacity and domestic skills. One man, a local zamindar known for his cruelty to servants, seemed particularly interested in Priya. His reputation for mistreating those under his control was well known throughout the region. Vikram felt his heart heavy with the injustice of the situation. These girls deserved better than to be treated as property. Their faces showed intelligence and strength beneath the fear, and he could see they understood exactly what fate awaited them. "What is your asking price for all three?" Vikram asked suddenly, surprising both the father and the other buyers. Mohan quoted a sum that represented more money than most families in the village would see in several years. It was clear he had set the price high, hoping to get as much as possible for what he saw as his only valuable assets. Without hesitation, Vikram agreed to the price, much to the shock of everyone present. He pulled out a leather pouch heavy with coins, the profit from a recent successful trade deal, and counted out the exact amount. The other buyers grumbled and dispersed, disappointed at losing their opportunity. The three sisters looked up at their new owner with a mixture of fear and confusion. They had expected to be separated, sold to different households. The fact that one man had purchased all three was unusual and left them uncertain about their fate. "Come," Vikram said gently to the girls. "Gather your belongings. You're coming with me." The sisters had little to gather. A small cloth bundle containing their few personal possessions and a worn wooden box that had belonged to their mother. As they prepared to leave with Vikram, their father offered awkward words of advice. "Be obedient," Mohan told them. "Work hard and cause no trouble. This Saheb seems kind, but remember your place." The walk to Vikram's house took them through the better part of town, past whitewashed houses with carved wooden doors and courtyards filled with flowering plants. The sisters walked in silence, staying close together, their eyes taking in their new surroundings while trying to prepare themselves for whatever lay ahead. Vikram's house was larger than anything they had ever seen up close. Built in the traditional Haveli style, it featured multiple courtyards, carved balconies, and rooms that seemed to stretch endlessly. Servants moved about their duties with quiet efficiency, and the whole place had an air of prosperity and order. Mira, the youngest, couldn't help but stare in wonder at the intricate paintings on the walls and the beautiful carved pillars. Kavya noticed the fine quality of the fabrics hanging in the textile workspace, while Priya's practical mind was already cataloging the size and complexity of the household they would now be serving. When they arrived, Vikram called for his housekeeper, an elderly woman named Kamala who had served his family for over 20 years. Her weathered face was kind but stern, and she looked the three new arrivals up and down with an experienced eye. "These girls will be staying with us," Vikram told Kamala. "Please prepare rooms for them in the Zenana quarter and see that they have everything they need." Kamala nodded, though her expression showed surprise. It was unusual for the master to personally involve himself in household arrangements, and the way he spoke suggested these girls held a different status than ordinary servants. As Kamala led them away, Vikram called after them, "Rest today and recover from your journey. Tomorrow we will discuss your place in this household." The Zenana quarter, traditionally the women's section of the house, was more comfortable than anywhere the sisters had ever lived. Each was given her own small but well-appointed room with a proper bed, storage chest, and window overlooking one of the courtyards. For girls who had spent their lives sleeping on thin mats in a two-room mud house, such luxury felt overwhelming. That evening, as they sat together in the common area of the Zenana, the sisters tried to make sense of their new situation. They had heard stories of wealthy men who purchased girls for various purposes, and while their new master seemed kind, they remained wary. "He seems different from the stories we've heard," Kavya whispered to her sisters. "Did you see how the servants look at him? With respect, not fear. Still, we must be careful," Priya cautioned. "Rich men can afford to seem kind when it suits them. We don't know what he truly wants from us." Little Mira, despite being the youngest, had noticed details her sisters had missed. "The house feels happy," she said simply. "Even the servants seem content. And did you see the way he looked at us? Not like the other men in the marketplace." Their conversation was interrupted when Kamala arrived with their evening meal. Instead of the simple fare they expected, she brought dishes that were clearly meant for the family rather than servants. Soft rotis, dal made with ghee, vegetables cooked with expensive spices, and even a small portion of sweet rice pudding. "Saheb has instructed that you are to be treated as honored guests," Kamala explained, setting down the brass thali plates. "He wants you to know that you are safe here and need not fear for your well-being." After Kamala left, the sisters ate in amazed silence. The food was better than anything they had tasted during festival days in their village. Each bite reminded them how drastically their circumstances had changed in a single day. As night fell, they lay in their comfortable beds, each lost in her own thoughts. For the first time in months, they felt physically secure, though emotional security remained elusive. The uncertainty of their future weighed heavily on their minds, but exhaustion from the day's events eventually overcame their worries. Meanwhile, in another part of the house, Vikram sat with his three sons, explaining the day's events. Arjun, the eldest at 25, was known for his intelligence and leadership qualities. Karan, 23, possessed a gentle nature and artistic temperament. Rohit, the youngest at 21, was spirited and adventurous but had a strong sense of justice. "You purchased 3 girls from the marketplace?" Arjun asked, his tone carefully neutral. "I could not stand by and watch them be sold to men who would treat them as property," Vikram explained. "These girls have dignity and intelligence. They deserve better than the fate that awaited them." Vikram explained to the fate that awaited them. "What do you plan to do with them?" Karan inquired, his artist's sensitivity picking up on the deeper currents of his father's decision. Vikram was quiet for a long moment, considering his words carefully. "I have been thinking about your futures. My sons, you are all of marriageable age, and I have been searching for suitable brides for you. Today, when I saw those girls, I saw not just victims to be rescued, but young women of character who might become worthy partners." The 3 sons exchanged glances, each processing this unexpected development in his own way. "You would have us marry girls who were purchased in a marketplace?" Rohit asked, though his tone was curious rather than disapproving. "I would have you consider getting to know 3 young women who, through no fault of their own, found themselves in desperate circumstances, Vikram replied. Marriage is about partnership, respect, and building a life together. These qualities have nothing to do with how a meeting comes about, and everything to do with the character of the people involved. As the night deepened, both the sisters and the sons found themselves contemplating an uncertain, but potentially transformative future. None of them could have imagined that a chance encounter in a dusty marketplace would set in motion events that would change all their lives forever. The next morning brought new challenges and revelations as the two families began the delicate process of getting to know one another, each side harboring hopes, fears, and dreams for what might lie ahead. The morning sun streamed through the carved windows of the Havli as the sisters woke to their first full day in their new home. The comfort of real beds and clean rooms felt surreal after years of hardship, yet uncertainty about their future kept them on edge. They had slept fitfully, each wondering what demands would be placed upon them and what their true purpose was in this grand household. Kamala arrived early with fresh clothes, simple but well-made cotton saris in soft colors, far better quality than anything they had owned before. Saheb wishes to speak with you after you have eaten, she informed them kindly. There is no rush, but he waits in the main courtyard whenever you are ready. The sisters helped each other dress, their hands shaking slightly with nervousness. Priya, as the eldest, felt the weight of responsibility for her younger sister's welfare. She had spent the night devising strategies for how they might navigate their new circumstances, regardless of what was expected of them. When they emerged into the main courtyard, they found Vikram sitting on a low wooden platform beneath a spreading neem tree. He wore simple white cotton clothes and had an open, patient expression that immediately put them somewhat at ease. Near him sat his three sons, each distinct in appearance and bearing. Arjun, the eldest, had an intellectual air about him, with thoughtful eyes and the confident posture of someone accustomed to responsibility. Karan appeared gentler, with artist's hands and a sensitive face that seemed to notice beauty in everything around him. Rohit, the youngest, had an energetic presence and quick, intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Please, sit. Vikram gestured to cushions arranged across from them. I want to speak honestly with you about why you are here and what I hope for your future. The sisters seated themselves carefully, maintaining the respectful distance they had been taught since childhood when addressing men of higher status. Priya kept her eyes lowered while staying alert to every word and gesture. Yesterday, I intervened in a situation that I could not bear to watch unfold, Vikram began. But I did not bring you here to serve as household workers or to be kept as dependents indefinitely. I brought you here because I believe every person deserves dignity, choice, and the opportunity to build a meaningful life. He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. I have 3 sons who are good men, each with different strengths and qualities. You are 3 young women who, from what little I observed yesterday, possess intelligence, courage, and character. I would like to propose something unusual, something that goes against conventional arrangements but might benefit everyone involved. The sisters remained silent, though Mira couldn't help but glance up briefly at the 3 young men sitting across from them. There was kindness in their faces, very different from the calculating looks they had endured in the marketplace. I would like you to consider the possibility of marriage to my sons, Vikram continued. Not immediately, not under any pressure, but as a possibility to explore over time. You would live here as honored members of our household, free to get to know them and to let them know you. If mutual respect and affection develop, marriages could be arranged. If not, you will always have a place here as part of our extended family. Priya's head shot up in surprise, her careful composure momentarily forgotten. This was not what she had expected to hear. Around them, the normal sounds of the household continued. Servants going about their duties, birds chirping in the trees, the distant sound of looms from the textile workshop. But for the sisters, everything else seemed to fade away. You would let us choose, Kavya asked softly, speaking for the first time since arriving at the house. Marriage should be built on mutual respect and genuine affection, Arjun spoke up, his voice gentle but firm. We would not want wives who came to us out of obligation or fear. We want partners who choose to build a life with us. Over the following weeks, An unusual courtship began to unfold. Rather than the formal, distant process typical of arranged marriages, both families embarked on a careful process of getting to know one another as individuals. Priya found herself drawn into conversations with Arjun about household management and business affairs. He was impressed by her practical intelligence and natural leadership abilities, while she appreciated his thoughtful approach to problems and his respect for her opinions. They would sit in the courtyard during evening hours, discussing everything from crop rotation techniques to the proper management of household accounts. Kavya discovered a kindred spirit in Karan when she admired the intricate patterns carved into the house's wooden pillars. He showed her his workshop where he created designs for the family's textile business, and she shyly revealed her own skills in embroidery. Their friendship grew as they worked together on new patterns, combining his architectural eye with her delicate needlework skills. Mira, despite being the youngest, found herself in animated discussions with Rohit about books and stories. He had been educated beyond what was typical for merchant families and possessed a small library of books in Hindi and Urdu. Mira's quick mind and curiosity delighted him, and he began teaching her to read more advanced texts, discovering that she had a natural talent for languages and literature. The sisters' days developed a comfortable rhythm. Mornings were spent learning household management from Kamala, though they gradually realized they were being taught skills appropriate for running a large household rather than serving in one. Afternoons often found them in various parts of the house, pursuing different activities with the family members. Priya worked alongside Arjun in the textile business, learning about trade routes, quality assessment of fabrics, and customer relations. Her suggestions for improving storage methods and organizing accounts proved valuable, and she began to see herself as a potential business partner rather than just a wife. Kavya spent hours in Karan's workshop, where her artistic skills flourished under his encouragement. Together, they created designs that began to attract attention from customers, combining traditional motifs with innovative patterns. For the first time in her life, Kavya saw her embroidery as more than just household necessity. It could be artistry. Mira's education expanded rapidly under Rohit's guidance. Beyond reading and writing, he introduced her to mathematics, basic accounting, and even some elements of history and geography. Her sharp mind absorbed everything eagerly, and she began to dream of possibilities she had never imagined before. The transformation in all three sisters was remarkable. The timid, fearful girls from the marketplace gradually emerged as confident young women with their own interests and opinions. They began to speak up in family discussions, offer suggestions, and express their own preferences about everything from daily routines to festival celebrations. Kamala watched these developments with growing approval. In 40 years of managing this household, I have never seen young women blossom so quickly, she confided to Vikram. They were like flowers that had been kept in shadow and are now reaching toward sunlight. The sons, too, found themselves changed by the experience. Arjun discovered that having an intelligent partner to discuss business matters enhanced his own thinking. Karan's artistic vision expanded through collaboration with someone who brought different perspectives to creative challenges. Rohit found that teaching Mira deepened his own understanding of the subjects he had learned. As the season changed from summer to the gentle coolness of early autumn, the household began preparing for the harvest festival. This would be the first major celebration the sisters would participate in as family members rather than outsiders, and everyone anticipated it with special excitement. The festival preparation became a collaborative effort. Priya took charge of organizing the elaborate feast, working with the kitchen staff to plan menus that would honor both tradition and the family's prosperity. Kavya created beautiful decorations, working with local craftsmen to produce rangoli patterns and fabric hangings that would transform the courtyards into spaces of celebration. Mira composed songs and stories to be performed during the festivities, drawing on both traditional themes and the family's own story. As the festival approached, Vikram observed the natural partnerships that had developed between his sons and the three sisters. What had begun as an unconventional rescue had evolved into genuine relationships built on mutual respect, shared interests, and growing affection. One evening, as the family sat together planning final details for the festival, Vikram addressed the group with a proposal. "These past months have shown me something beautiful," he began. "You have all chosen to build friendships and partnerships based on genuine compatibility. Arjun and Priya work together like two parts of the same mind. Karan and Kavya create beauty that neither could achieve alone. Rohit and Meera challenge each other to reach new heights of learning and understanding. He paused, looking around at the 6 young people who had become so important to each other. If you are willing, I would like to propose that we formalize these relationships with marriage ceremonies during the festival season, not because of any obligation or arrangement, but because what has grown naturally between you deserves to be celebrated and honored. The response was immediate and unanimous. All 6 had been hoping for exactly this opportunity, but none had wanted to presume or push for what they desired. The harvest festival would become not just a celebration of the season's bounty, but of the new family bonds that had formed through patience, respect, and genuine affection. As the family began making plans for 3 weddings to take place during the festival week, the sisters marveled at how completely their lives had transformed. From the desperate situation in the marketplace to becoming beloved daughters-in-law in a prosperous, loving household seemed like something from a fairy tale, yet it had happened through the simple power of human kindness and the recognition that every person possesses inherent dignity and worth. The approaching festival promised not just celebration, but the beginning of a new chapter for everyone involved. A chapter built on the solid foundation of mutual respect, shared dreams, and the kind of love that grows naturally when people are free to choose their own destinies. The Harvest Festival of 1847 would be remembered in Rajgarh for years to come, not just for its spectacular celebrations, but for the unprecedented triple wedding that transformed social conversations throughout the region. Word had spread quickly through the town about the merchant Vikram Singh's unusual approach to finding brides for his sons, and opinions ranged from admiration to bewilderment to quiet criticism from more traditional families. As the festival week approached, the Havli buzzed with preparation activity that exceeded anything the household had previously undertaken. Vikram had decided that if his family was going to challenge social conventions, they would do so magnificently, creating celebrations that honored both his new daughters-in-law and the institution of marriage itself. Master craftsmen arrived daily to complete decorative work throughout the house. Skilled cooks traveled from neighboring cities to assist with the feast preparations. Musicians and dancers were engaged to provide entertainment that would showcase the family's joy and prosperity. The sisters found themselves at the center of planning discussions, their opinions sought and valued on everything from flower arrangements to menu selections. Priya took naturally to coordinating the complex logistics of hosting hundreds of guests over multiple days. Her organizational skills, honed by years of managing her father's troubled household, now flourished in an environment where her capabilities were appreciated and supported. She worked closely with Arjun to ensure that every detail reflected the dignity and respect they wanted their marriage to represent. Kavya threw herself into creating decorative elements that would make the celebrations visually stunning. Working with Karan, she designed elaborate fabric draping for the courtyards, intricate rangoli patterns for the floors, and even special garments for family members that incorporated both traditional elements and innovative artistic touches. Their collaborative creativity had produced results that amazed even experienced decorators. Meera, with Rohit's encouragement, composed original songs and poems that told the story of 3 sisters finding new life and love in unexpected circumstances. Her compositions skillfully balanced celebration with subtle acknowledgement of the social questions their marriages raised, addressing critics while affirming the validity of love that transcends conventional arrangements. 3 days before the ceremonies were to begin, an unexpected visitor arrived at the Havli. Mohan, the sisters' father, appeared at the main gate, looking uncomfortable but determined. He had traveled from his village after hearing rumors about his daughter's upcoming marriages, uncertain about whether he would be welcome or what role he should play in these celebrations. Vikram received him with courtesy but coolness. The man who had been willing to sell his daughters in a marketplace was not someone who commanded respect, yet Vikram recognized that the sisters' relationship with their father was their choice to determine, not his. When the sisters learned of their father's arrival, their reactions were complex and varied. Priya felt anger at the man who had put them in such danger, but also a dutiful concern for his welfare. Kavya struggled with conflicting emotions of hurt and forgiveness. Meera, perhaps because of her youth or her naturally optimistic nature, seemed most willing to welcome him despite everything that had happened. They met with their father in one of the smaller courtyards, with Kamala nearby providing silent moral support. Mohan appeared genuinely shocked by the transformation in his daughters. The fearful, subdued girls he had sold months ago had become poised, confident young women who spoke with education and carried themselves with dignity. "I heard you are to be married," he said hesitantly. "I wanted to see that you were well, and to ask if there is anything I should do as your father for these ceremonies." Priya, speaking for all three sisters, responded with a maturity that surprised everyone present. "You gave up the right to call yourself our father when you sold us in the marketplace," she said quietly but firmly. "But you gave us life, and for that we acknowledge a debt. You may attend the celebrations as our guest, but understand that Vikram Singh has been more of a father to us these past months than you ever were." The conversation was difficult but necessary. The sisters needed to address their past before they could fully embrace their future. In the end, they decided that their father could participate in the ceremonies in a limited way. He could be present for the weddings and feast, but the traditional father's roles would be performed by Vikram, who had truly earned the right to give them away in marriage. The first day of celebrations began with religious ceremonies at dawn, performed by the most respected pandit in the region. The three couples stood together as the priest blessed their unions and performed the traditional rituals that would bind them in marriage. The sacred fire burned brightly in the center of the main courtyard while family and friends formed concentric circles around the couples. Arjun and Priya's ceremony emphasized partnership and shared responsibility. The vows they exchanged spoke of building prosperity together, supporting each other's goals, and creating a household based on mutual respect and collaboration. Their practical natures found deep satisfaction in promises that acknowledged marriage as both spiritual union and practical partnership. Karan and Kavya's ceremony highlighted creativity and beauty. Their vows incorporated artistic metaphors, speaking of creating beautiful lives together like the patterns they designed in fabric and wood. They promised to inspire each other's creativity and to find beauty in everyday moments throughout their shared journey. Rohit and Meera's ceremony emphasized learning and growth. Their vows spoke of continuing to challenge each other intellectually, of supporting each other's education and development, and of building a relationship where both partners continued to evolve and expand their understanding of the world. Following the religious ceremonies, the three couples participated in various traditional rituals, each adapted slightly to reflect their unusual circumstances. The community witnessed these adaptations with interest, seeing how old traditions could accommodate new realities without losing their essential meaning. The feast that followed was extraordinary even by the standards of wealthy merchant families. Long tables were arranged in the largest courtyard, laden with dishes that represented the culinary traditions of multiple regions. Local specialties were served alongside delicacies from distant cities, symbolizing the way the family had brought together different backgrounds and experiences into one harmonious celebration. During the feast, various community leaders offered toasts and speeches that gradually revealed how the family's unconventional approach to marriage had influenced broader social thinking. Several speakers noted that the happiness evident in all three couples suggested that character and compatibility might be more important in marriage than strict adherence to traditional arrangement methods. The elderly zamindar who had been interested in purchasing Priya at the marketplace was among the guests, and his presence created an interesting dynamic. Seeing Priya as an honored bride rather than potential property clearly affected him, and he was heard commenting to other guests about the wisdom of Vikram's approach to evaluating potential brides. As the formal ceremonies concluded and evening entertainment began, the three couples found themselves briefly alone together in a smaller courtyard. They reflected on how completely their lives had changed and how uncertain they had been about the future just months before. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if Vikram uncle had not been in the marketplace that day?" Meera asked, using the affectionate term that had naturally developed for their father-in-law. "I try not to," Priya replied honestly. "But I am grateful every day that he was there and that he saw something in us worth saving." "He didn't just save us," Kavya added thoughtfully. "He helped us discover who we could become when given the opportunity to develop our abilities and make our own choices." As the evening progressed, The celebration expanded to include more entertainment and dancing. The three couples participated in traditional wedding dances, their joy evident to all observers. The sight of 6 young people so clearly happy with their choices created a powerful impression on the assembled guests. During a quieter moment in the festivities, Vikram found himself in conversation with several other merchants and community leaders who had been observing the day's events with great interest. "Your approach to finding brides for your sons has certainly attracted attention," one of them observed. "Do you think it might influence how others approach marriage arrangements?" Vikram considered the question carefully before responding. "I hope it might encourage people to remember that successful marriages require compatibility, respect, and genuine affection between the partners. How those feelings develop, whether through traditional family arrangements or unusual circumstances, matters less than ensuring that they exist before vows are exchanged." The conversation that followed revealed how much impact the family's story had already had throughout the region. Several families had begun placing greater emphasis on ensuring compatibility between potential marriage partners. Others had started involving young women more actively in discussions about their own marriage prospects. As the formal celebration concluded and guests began departing, the extended family gathered for a final blessing ceremony. The 3 couples received advice and good wishes from older family members, but the tone was more of welcoming new family members than completing traditional obligations. In the months that followed the weddings, the 3 couples settled into married life with remarkable ease. Their long courtship period had allowed them to develop strong foundations for their relationships, and their shared experiences created bonds that went beyond typical newlywed adjustments. Priya and Arjun became full partners in expanding the textile business. Her insights into household management and customer relations complemented his knowledge of trade and finance, and together, they developed new approaches that significantly increased the family's prosperity. Their marriage became a model of how personal compatibility could enhance professional collaboration. Kavya and Karan established a reputation for artistic innovation that brought customers from distant cities seeking their collaborative designs. Their workshop became a training center where young artisans learned to combine traditional techniques with creative innovation. Their marriage demonstrated how shared passions could create both personal happiness and professional success. Meera and Rohit continued their intellectual partnership, with Meera eventually becoming one of the most educated women in the region. Together, they began developing educational materials that could help other young women gain literacy and basic mathematical skills. Their marriage showed how mutual encouragement in learning could benefit not just the couple but the broader community. Years later, as the family gathered for harvest festivals and other celebrations, the extraordinary circumstances that had brought them together seemed less important than the strong, loving relationships that had developed. The 3 couples had not only found personal happiness, but had also contributed to gradual social changes that made it easier for other families to prioritize compatibility and mutual respect in marriage arrangements. The story of Vikram Singh and his daughters-in-law became part of local folklore, told as an example of how human dignity and the courage to challenge social conventions could lead to outcomes that benefited everyone involved. It reminded the community that behind every social tradition lay human individuals whose happiness and welfare should be the ultimate measure of any arrangement's success. The Havli continued to prosper under the combined efforts of the extended family, but its greatest treasure was not its material wealth, but the demonstration it provided that kindness, respect, and the recognition of human worth could transform desperate circumstances into lasting happiness. The 3 sisters who had once stood trembling in a marketplace had become the foundation of a family legacy built on love, mutual respect, and the belief that everyone deserves the opportunity to choose their own destiny.